A big game week. It's always a big week around here for our players, coaches, fans, everybody associated with our program. One of the great traditions in college football, one of the great rivalries. I think our players understand that. It's a meaningful game because of that every year. And then I think you add in the other implications this year, bowl eligibility. Just a chance to compete against a team I think that's been to, was it 4 consecutive BCS bowl games, if I'm not mistaken. Team that's had a lot of success. So you factor all that in. Our guys are going to be excited to play and looking forward to the challenge. It's going to be a big challenge, but our guys, I think they have some confidence and feel like that, we can compete and looking forward to going out there on Saturday and doing that.
Okay, questions?
Do you guys need to beat these guys to sort of get over the hump in terms of the development of your program in some ways?
Certainly help us. Don't know that we have to beat them right now. But it would certainly help us. It's we've talked a lot about steps this year. It's kind of the next step for us. Would certainly be a big win for us. But, the thing I've been proud of this team for doing is keeping their head down and focusing on what's important, and that's getting better and improving. And so they see it as that, an opportunity. But it's not like our last chance to do that or anything. But it would certainly help us.
Kind of in that same regard, talking about it being a step, what do you think a game like this could do for maybe some of the negativity that's still lingering around from last year?
Yeah. I just think, hopefully most of that stuff I think is gone. I think, people who've seen us play this year know we're a different team, and our program's certainly in a different place than it was a year ago, and we're proud of the progress we've made and disappointed that we haven't done better. But at the same time, feel good about some of the work that we've put in and some of the improvements that we've made. I think we're just in a lot different place. You just look at our program now, and from where it was a year ago, I think there's just a lot of the negativity I think has slowly gone away, and I think we're in a much more, we bottomed out last year certainly, and I think we're in a much more conducive place right now than we were a year ago.
You just kind of touched on it there, but last year everybody was saying the right things here, but obviously you guys were dealing with a lot of injuries heading into this game. Just confidence-wise, where is this team at versus a year ago, and do you have to manage any kind of excitement this year, given what
I don't think so. I think that we've played pretty well against good football teams this year. Haven't really found a way to win, but I think we have been able to get some confidence from having opportunities to win against good teams down the stretch. And so, I think our guys have realized we can play with people, and we're a couple plays away from beating some pretty good teams. And we're going to need to make those plays Saturday in order to have a chance to beat Stanford.
You look at Stanford's defense, and statistically they lead the Pac-12 in almost everything. What makes them so good? How can you describe that defense?
Yeah, strong, experienced. When you just look at their football team, that's what stands out. You just go through the roster and you look at the guys that are playing for them, and they're players that have been in their program for a long time. They're guys that came in as freshmen and redshirted and played on special teams as freshmen and sophomores, and played on offense or defense as juniors, and now they're seniors. And they've played a lot of football, and they've spent a lot of time lifting weights and running, and they've bought into the program, and they've competed hard, and they've had a lot of success. And so because of all that, you've got a very seasoned football team, a football team that you think about it over the last 4 years preparing for a BCS bowl game. That's a season's worth of practices right there. And so you just look at those guys that have, they've practiced a lot of football, and they've played a lot of football, and they've played in a lot of big ball games. And so, just a lot of experienced guys. And I think that's what stands out. Obviously, they've got a really good pass rush. They've got 33 sacks this year. A lot of long guys. They use their hands well. They get off blocks probably as well as any football team I've seen. I think that's one of the strengths is their ability to to use their hands to defeat blocks. You know, they're well coached, gap sound. Linebackers are big, physical, you know, long guys. Same thing. I mean, a lot of height and strength. And then on the back end, you know, they've got a pretty good amount of experience, and you know, tackle well, play physical, and just a tough defense. I mean, when you sit down and you say what makes a defense good, you know, it's you know, they run to the football well, they tackle well, they have great strength, they have a good scheme. You know, all the stuff that you and again, they have a ton of experience.
And offensively, what do you see in Hogan? I mean, he's had some ups and downs this year. What?
You know, you just see a guy that gives him a chance to win every Saturday. I think that's the biggest thing for him is he makes plays. He's makes plays with his feet. You know, can escape and move around probably better than you think he can. Has a knack for being able to move around a little bit and keep plays alive. You know, and then obviously Ty Montgomery is kind of where their offense runs through. You know, he's the guy that makes a lot of big plays for him. He's a different type of player physically. I mean, he's a 220-pound wide receiver. You just don't see many of those guys that have the speed, strength, and size that he has. And they do a nice job figuring out ways to get him the football. You know, I'm sure they're going to run 3 or 4 reverses Saturday against us. They're going to line him up and play him at Wildcat quarterback, and you know, and we'll prepare for all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you could be prepared, but you still have to find a way to tackle him. And he's hard guy to tackle.
Sonny, could you talk about what the benefits of going to a bowl game are in terms of recruiting, in terms of your self-image, extra practice, all those things that you guys...
Yeah, big thing for us. I mean, the biggest thing is just extra practices. For a team that is as young as we are, and I mean, 42 newcomers have played this year. You know, in our program, it's a lot of young, you know, first-year players and newcomers, and so that gives those guys a chance to practice more. You know, and a lot of those players haven't been through spring practice. A lot of those were players that came in and just, you know, started during fall camp, and so, you know, you can get 15 extra practices. That's like an extra spring, and so from that perspective, I mean, it's huge for the growth of our program, just developing our young players. You know, we'll be able to have a lot of full padded physical workouts, which will help us grow in those areas that we need to grow into. And so from a preparation standpoint, as we transition into the bowl game and really next year, it helps your program in so many ways. You know, the perception would obviously help us. You know, just you know, being on television and people talking about you going to a bowl game, it certainly would help us in recruiting. I really like the way the dominoes are starting to fall in recruiting right now. I'm excited about that. But you know, it's you know, it certainly helps. Obviously, much different now than it was a year ago.
Do recruits say you haven't been to a bowl game in X amount of years? Do they latch onto that kind of stuff?
You know, quite frankly, if half the recruits that you sign, they don't know if you played in the conference championship game or didn't win a game. I mean, they really don't. I mean, you know, it's now half of them know everything, know exactly, you know, how many you won and what they were like and all that. But I think more than anything else, it just helps your perception. You know, because what's hard for 18-year-old kids to do is to say, okay, like last year, for example, okay, I'm going to go to Cal. Well, you know, the guys sitting in their class are going, why would you go to Cal? You know, and well, they're going to say, well, I know I can play early. I know I can get a great education. I know this, I know that, I know that. But, you know, the peer pressure is to go someplace that's won. And so, you know, that takes away that element. And now they can come to Cal because, you know, football program's headed in the right direction. They have an opportunity to play early. It's the #1 public school in the world. You know, it's in the best city to live in the country. And I mean, you just go down the list of stuff, and you know, some classmate or their girlfriend or whatever going, yeah, but why would you want to go there? You know, and that takes that stuff out, which is a tremendous help.
Sonny, have you heard your seniors or anyone say at all that, you know, they haven't won this game except for Austin Clark, but everyone else, I mean, that's been here hasn't won?
Yeah, you know, we hadn't really talked much about that. I mean, I'm guessing there was some teams. I don't think this is the only team they haven't beaten, and so, you know, I think like anything else. I mean, we just want to get ready to play. We're focused on practicing and preparing well and making sure that we do everything we can between now and Saturday to get ourselves ready to play. Whether that's come in and watch extra film, get an extra hour of sleep, do a couple of extra reps in the weight room, finish our plays a little harder than we normally do in practice, whatever the case may be. We want that to happen every week, and so and I think the good thing with this group is it's happened that way most of the year. But we don't really talk about that kind of stuff that much.
Sonny, your offense obviously has made tremendous strides this year from a year ago. Your defense, not so much, especially the pass defense. Do you have a understanding of why it hasn't gotten better? Is it simply you need more good players, or what? Well,
I think part of it is, we've played good run defense. I think you go into last week's game against USC, and, their tailback was the leading rusher in the conference, and we held him pretty well. And so, if you're looking at us right now and you're saying, well, they're scoring a lot of points, they're tough to run the ball against, well, we're going to have to match them, and so let's throw the football. And so I think that's probably in the way some of our games have gone. They've been high-scoring affairs, and so what happens really for both teams is almost they abandon the run game in some cases, and so it becomes Arizona the second half. I mean, they didn't run the ball much, and Arizona's a run team. It's because we were so far ahead. And so I think part of that stuff has been a byproduct of that, and then I think we're pretty inexperienced back there, and especially. When Steph was out, now we're a little bit more solidified at the safety position, with Mike and Steph there, and they've brought us, some experience. But if you look at, Darius White's a newcomer, Cam Walker is still young, hadn't played a whole lot of football yet, and it played safety last year and has had to play corner for us this year. And, Caleb Coleman's been playing our nickel, who was a wide receiver a year ago, and Cedric Dozier's still a young player, and Darius Allensworth, redshirt freshman, and you just look at us. We're just still young at those positions that are important positions, and I have a lot of confidence that those guys are going to become good football players. I hope it's this week, and I think they will. I mean, I really do. I think that they've gotten better, and I think again, same thing. I put the film on every week. I watch the game, and we gave up whatever points and this many yards and whatever, and you put the film on and you go, we got these guys in the right places, and the players are getting themselves in the right places, and now it's the next logical step is to just to make those plays. And if you go back and look at the game Saturday, we were close on a lot of those balls that they caught. The first touchdown of the game, Caleb Coleman missed the ball by an inch, and made a play on that ball that he probably wouldn't have been able to make 2 weeks before, just because he was a little bit more experienced and could break on the ball a little more quickly and with more confidence. So, it's a process. Wish it wasn't. Wish, there was a magical formula or magic dust or whatever, but it's not the way it works.
Are you making a change at corner? You look like you played Darius White a lot the whole second half at the expense of Cam.
No, not really. We're just trying to figure out what's the best what's the best combination?
The run game had made big strides the previous 2 weeks, like 190 some odd, and then over 269 2 weeks in a row, and then back to 105. Was that a function of you guys? Was that a function of
it's a little bit of function of Leonard Williams. I mean, he's a pretty good player, and so he's a tough guy to block. And same thing that happened that game. We got behind early. We got behind, and so. For us, we needed to try to get back in the ball game, and the fastest way to do that was to try to throw the ball.
We've seen Jared put up big numbers both years he's started here. Beyond the numbers, what's the biggest improvement you've seen him make this year?
Well, I just think his comfort level. I think he's, he's much more comfortable, much more confident. Just has a better sense of what it takes to be successful at this level, and anticipates throws better, and everybody's on the same page more than they were a year ago, and I think he understands our offense and understands where the receivers are going to be and how they're going to get there and where they're going to be and when are they going to be there and all that stuff, which is important for quarterbacks to know. And I think the part of his growth is just having confidence in the offensive line and those guys improving, and him seeing that that he can go back and go through his progressions, and he's going to have time most of the time to get the ball out. And so I think there's just a combination of things. But just like I said earlier, I mean, there's nothing more important than experience. When experience is such a big thing in football, because you have to make so many snap decisions and quick judgments, and you have to rely on your intuition, and the only way that develops is by playing. And so I think that's when you sit down and you compare football teams, I mean, experience is always something that means a lot. And I think that's he's come a ways that way.
How much does it change a quarterback's mindset when you guys are a team is actually winning when he's performing well?
Yeah, I mean, it helps. I mean, it certainly helps. Just gives them more confidence. And I think at the end of the day, if you said, what's probably the most important characteristic for a quarterback to have, I'd almost say it's confidence. I think that confidence allows players to play better than they really are. And so it's always the chicken or the egg thing. Do they get confidence by playing well, or they play well because they have confidence? And I think that's, the important thing is they get it. I don't know how it happens, but at some point, you put the work in, and you have a level of success, and then you just believe that you're supposed to have that success, and that's when you become pretty good as a player and as a team.
Jared seems to be obviously the sort of the face of your program at this point. You got a flyer here for All-America
that looks good, huh?
Things like that.
I made those last night.
I know you did. Is he in most ways kind of an ideal guy for that in the way he conducts himself?
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of the the golden boy Cal guy. I mean, both his parents went to Cal, and he grew up a Cal fan, and he's a tall, kind of below average looking guy. No, he's a tall, good looking guy. I mean, he's kind of what you want as a quarterback. I mean, he's just kind of, if you said, what do you want a quarterback to look like? It'd be him with about 25 more pounds.
Kind of on that same note, as his numbers continue to grow and the team continues to perform better, do you think he's aware of maybe how kind of his world is changing with some of the outside perception and attention?
I don't think so. I mean, to me, he's of all the guys I've seen, be able to handle this stuff. He handles it well, and I think, I think it has a lot to do with his parents. I mean, his parents are just did a great job raising him, and they're just people that are not concerned with things that aren't important. They don't. They just really are. Kind of what you would want to have as parents. I mean, they're just incredibly grounded, and don't get too high, don't get too low. Just really good, solid people, and I think he's a byproduct of that for sure.
Okay, guys, probably time for one or two more questions if anybody has one.
This is on a totally different note, kind of going back to maybe the inexperience in the secondary. And you've talked about this before, but I mean, is it hard to keep trying to blitz or get pressure on the quarterback, which you guys have struggled to do when?
Yeah, it's the same old deal. When you can cover really good, then you can say, well, what, we're going to really come after him, and and you live and die by the blitz. I mean, if you watch the Arizona State game, the Oregon State Saturday, I mean, Arizona State didn't get home a couple of times on the blitz, and when they didn't, they gave up some touchdowns. And then when they did get home, they sacked the quarterback. And so, that's an oversimplification, but in some ways it's not. And and if you're going to blitz, you better be able to cover. Now, if you don't blitz, you better be able to cover too. Because the quarterback's going to have time. Now, it's going to be different. It's not going to be – the throws are different. But it's a pass rush can make up for a lot of things, and you go back and you look at – I've always thought this made a lot of sense. I was a Cowboys fan, kind of growing up in Texas. And you look at – Deion Sanders was really good when Charles Haley was there. And then when Charles Haley wasn't there, Deion wasn't quite as good. And so, those things have a big impact on each other. And then Charles Haley probably wasn't as good because, the ball got out a little bit quicker when Dion wasn't there. And so, I mean, you know, everybody in football makes each other better. And if the quarterback gets rid of the ball fast, the offensive line looks better. If the offensive line protects a little longer, the quarterback looks better. You know, if they block better, the running back looks better. If the running back runs through tackles, the O-line looks better. And it's the same thing with defense. You know, everybody looks better if the guy next to him is doing his job. And I think that's what, you know, that's what good football teams look like.
Other than David Davis, you're physically okay?
Yeah. Jake Kearney has a pulled abdominal muscle. We'll see what he can do this week. He's going to be a little limited. I don't know what he's going to be able to do on Saturday yet. But that's it. I mean, then, you know, pretty healthy for this time of year.
If I could follow up with a question on a different topic. You were talking about recruiting. How much will your emphasis be on defensive backs, and do you have to look at junior college again to get some immediate help there?
Yeah. I think we'll probably try to take a look at a couple of junior college players, maybe a safety and corner both. But yes, I mean we're gonna that'll be a big point of emphasis for us is recruiting defensive backs and guys that can come in and play immediately. We're looking for high school football players that want to come to the #1 public school in the country and play in the Pac-12 and have a chance to play early.
Public service notice.
A little advertisement
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
I looked at, so McCary kind of made a little jump up and jump to the side at defensive end.
Tony, yeah. Yeah, Tony, you know, some weeks you play against, you know, teams that are going to drop back and throw it a bunch, and you want a little bit more athletic pass rusher off the edge. And then other times you're going to play against a team that wants to run the ball a little bit more, and you want a little bit more physical guy that can set the point a little bit as a defensive end. And you know, Tony McCarry's done both for us. You know, kind of came into the year as a tackle. We've moved him to defensive end to help just give us a little bit more size and strength at that position. And you know, he's played well. I mean, he really has. I thought he held up well Thursday night against USC. You know, I think he'll have a big role as we go into this game, just because of his size and strength against Stanford. And you know, he's done a nice job for us. He plays hard. He's a tough kid, strong. I've been really, you know, pleased with his development.